This is the $600 million secret on the power of momentum. In this video, I'm going to explain how momentum is one of the most misunderstood concepts in business. And I'm going to give you actionable steps of how I implemented, changed, measured, and used momentum to work for me in building Culture Kings to a $600 million valuation rather than it going against me. One of the biggest lessons I got in starting at the markets is I understood this key concept in direct selling. People buy with emotion and then justify with logic. This explains why Bernard Arnault is the richest person on the world right now that owns the luxury fashion group LVMH, because luxury is buying on pure emotion. There's no logic in buying a $5,000 handbag or $5,000 bottle of champagne. So in understanding the power of emotion, well, what is emotion? If you break down the word of emotion, it's energy in motion. This is the most important thing to understand about emotion is it's moving, it's changing. Look, we all learn at school, when an object is at rest, it tends to stay at rest. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. One of the most important things I learned at the markets is that I had to generate the momentum inside myself because I could spark it and the difference it could make. When everyone else was sitting at the markets hoping someone's gonna walk up and buy their stuff, I was not prepared to sit there, an object at rest. I know I needed to create that momentum myself. This is why I would get on the microphone, I would spruik, I would create this noise and environment for no one even there. But I would create this momentum because people would start to come down and listen to my spiel. Once I got them to hear my spiel, I would build a crowd. From that crowd, I could build certainty, energy, atmosphere, and then close them all at once. And this is how, rather than sitting there waiting for someone to buy something, 20 minutes later, I could have made $1,000 just because I created that momentum. But so learning this concept at the markets, as we grew and then got one store and two store, this momentum concept I built into my daily practice in how I would create value in the business, because I always believed my job as the leader of the company was to create the momentum, was to create that spark. When I was entering a meeting, I would always notice it at a certain level, the energy, the emotion in the room. I needed to get that emotion. I needed to crank it. How I would do this, I would position this frame. As a company, energy management is more important than time management. A key principle that I built in. I would say we would always be on the front foot, lean into the problem, lean into the solution, have that forward center of mass, because as much as when we could create momentum from a meeting, coming up with ideas, we're more pitching and catching, we're staying in that uptime where the ideas are coming back and forth, rather than the second you feel it drop, the second you feel it go into the dead space where there's not an arguable debate, people aren't really engaged, people aren't really listening, that is when I knew everything in that moment was a waste of time. Think about it in your physical life, in health. You know, you've been going to the gym, you're feeling fit and strong, you've got your momentum going in the right way. The more you run, the more you fucking crave running. And it's this amazing cycle. Or the more you go to the gym, the more you feel powerful and strong and you want to go to the gym. And then you have to be so careful of something that can break the momentum. Who's ever been in this? And then you've suddenly gone on a big bender. You've gone out with your mates and you've cut loose. And finishing that at the night, who's gone, oh, I want to have a massive kebab. And you eat a massive kebab or a Macca's or something before bed. Then you wake up in the morning, you're hungover. What do you crave? Oh, I've got to have Uber Eats. I've got to have KFC. I've got to have, and then not your diet just goes. And then the next one, do you feel like going to the gym the next? Hell no, you skip that. And then you create this momentum going the other way. To just be aware of it. Where are you in the cycle? It's always changing. And your job is to direct it, is to, when you start to lose it, catch it. One of the most important principles, one of the best-selling books of our generation is Atomic Habits. I love this line in here. When you do something wrong, when you create it, just never do it 2 days in a row. We all know this in our health life, but this is in our business. Do you know how many times I was in that situation where something went wrong and then I saw a dashboard and it was red, and then I got into a pissed off, frustrated state, and then I spoke an employee the wrong way, and then they felt scared or pissed off or disengaged, and then another problem will come up and they're not even going to bring it up, and that's going to get swept under the rug and turned into an even bigger problem. Then that employee can actively be disengaged and talk to someone else, oh, this place is cooked, this is stuffed, they don't care about us, and then that culture thrives and it just can snowball the complete opposite way. The most important thing is when it's going the wrong way, stop. If you stay in this frustrated, pissed off state, if you will take those actions when you've got that cortisol in your system, you're going to make the wrong decision. You have to step out of the environment and get this fresh perspective. This is why I say health and recovery is such an important aspect of business that no one talks about. It's because the more you have that dialed, the more strength and capacity you have to be control of that physical and emotional state in that moment to be able to shift it back on track. And so what I would do, very disciplined morning routine. I always speak about, cold plunge, meditation, Wim Hof breathing to be able to get myself in the right state. But this awareness of, I would have a morning meeting and I would come to it with the energy, and I would be saying to myself before, I'm going to generate the momentum, I'm going to kickstart, and I would come at that meeting full of energy, full of gas, full of pointers in the right direction. And understanding the power of momentum is amazing when it's all going great. When I would log into that morning meeting and the dashboard's all green and up and to the right and this worked, and I'm shouting out, that was amazing, that bit of content. Look at the hook rate and hold rate on this. Oh my God, this is gonna be $1 million piece of creative. Shout out to this person because they solved this customer's problem. They wrote the most epic review. Oh my God, shout out Chadston, had a record day, record conversion yesterday. You would see these moments and you would thrive on it. And you giving this acknowledgement and praise would just thrive their momentum. They would try even harder. They'd even come up with better creative the next day. And then the next day you'd have even better green dashboard. This is why the rich get richer, the happier get happier, the smarter get smarter, is because of that system as it fuels on itself. The momentum power that you have to understand is that when it's there is to lean into it, into gas it, is that when it's going is to keep that flow and keep that momentum going, but watch for these triggers that can send it. For me, one of the biggest things was dashboards. Look, we all love data, and as a founder, we love to check it. We love to check the Facebook ads, check what's working, checks the Shopify, but you have to be careful. This can change your state. And I know this was for me, and this was punishing as when we listed and went to a public company, and my shares that I had, and I listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and I got 300 million cash off the table, but the rest was in a public company. And to see it, it was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but this fluctuating every day, it messed with my mind how much I was checking it, because sometimes it would fluctuate and it was like, oh my God, that was like a Gulf Stream right there, gone in a day. Or yes, it's back. Or no, it's gone. These dashboards, these charts can trigger your decision making. And what I learned, it's so important to make sure those dashboards don't change your state. Don't change your decisions in that moment. What you have to do is lean into it and create the momentum and positive, but you cannot let it affect you on the negative. And this is so important, is that whenever I did check it and I saw the red, saw the problem, is in that moment, understanding the power of momentum and to stop, not go to that next action, not blast someone because something's wrong with the site. That's why conversion's down. Is to think through this action and slow down in that moment, because the momentum, as much as it can power the other way, we all know how much it can unravel. And in those moments, and like, I'm not saying I always got this right. Trust me, I learned this through errors, through making the mistakes and unraveling all this hard work in these moments. But understanding what are your triggers, whether it's a dashboard, whether it's an email, whether it's a tone in Slack, and understanding to control those inputs, that they're coming in at certain times or the right time, and understanding that your internal state has to be the strongest in the company. You have to have the most certainty. You have to be generating the most momentum. You have to be the most optimistic. All of these points that you have to be in control of as that founder, as that entrepreneur, business owner, to be able to direct the company in the right direction because you are in control of the momentum. So these are your action points to implement to control momentum in your company. 1, do physical exercise first. It is such the important for your mental and emotional health. It's doing your physical exercise that you're coming into the office, and ideally you're starting with some sort of morning meeting, stand up. There's something where you can generate this energy, this state in yourself and inject it straight away into the business, because most people will not come into their work full of that energy and momentum. You have to take this responsibility that you are going to generate it. 2, remove negative triggers, whether this is the dashboard, email, Slack, that can come in and create negative loop and patterns in yourself. 3, when something goes wrong, the first move is not letting a decision come out of cortisol. You have to stop and remove yourself from the environment and shift that momentum back. I always train myself from when I'm in the frustrated, pissed off state is how do I shift that into a determined state? It's the other side of the graph. They're both high energy, but one's negative and one's positive. You do something from a frustrated state versus doing something from a determined state, it's mind-boggling the difference in result. 4, keep that analogy in your head of being on the front foot, that forward center of mass. Everything you're doing, keep that flowing momentum. Try and look for those moments where people drop into the low disengaged state and crank it up. All the magic happens on that front foot momentum, and that is where we are supposed to live as human beings. I always say, from Tony Robbins, I got it, happiness is being challenged yet on top of things, and it's this balance. You have to kick that momentum for yourself and your whole team to live and balance on that edge. Momentum is the key. If you found this valuable and you want to watch more videos of how you can learn about the different stages of growth and take real actionable insights that you can implement into your daily work life that increases your output, watch this next video from 0 to 600 million.